Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to talk a little bit about distressing. So we've had a couple of questions about how do you distress a dipped part, and so we thought we'd shoot a quick little video, show you guys a couple of different techniques, different things that we would use to distress something like that. So hopefully that'll help you out whenever you're looking to do a distress job on a Hydrographics part. So what we've got is we've just got a standard speed shape. Of course, you can use anything that you want, but you want something with a lot of curvature because that does help out a lot in the distressing. If you have just a flat surface, it's not quite going to look as good as if it does have a lot of ridges or, detail in the pattern, or not in the pattern, but in the actual part itself, because you want those ridges and you want a lot of the body lines to help show a lot of that distressing. So we've already got our part painted. Let's go ahead, let's get it dipped in a pattern and then get it all rinsed off, distress it, and show you guys a few techniques on that. So let's get started. All right, so we've got everything glassed out just like we need. Got our speed shape here. Let's go ahead and get this dipped. Very nice. Came out really good. We'll go ahead, rinse this off, get it cleaned off, do any touch-ups that are necessary. I don't think there will be any, but then we'll go ahead and we'll start distressing it after it's all rinsed. All right, so now that we've got everything already touched up, we're ready to go ahead and start with the distressing. So a couple of things to look at whenever you're looking at the distressing. So as you're distressing a part, you normally want to darken in the lower areas, and then you want to highlight the higher areas. So what I mean by that is that if this was distressed and this part was taken like this and just drug back and forth, what we're going to find is these top edges right through here, here, and here are going to hit first, right? Because if we were just drag that, that's what would happen. Now, these edges right in here where they are curved in like this right here, and then this lower portion in here, and then these lower portions in here would also be a lot more darker. And so that's where we're going to come in with some shading and some relief on that with the black that we're going to be using. So a couple of things to remember on this. The black that we've got is just a standard automotive base paint. Now again, you can use any type of black that you would like, but in this case we've just mixed up a standard black that we've already got, and then we're going to go through and we're going to do a couple of things. Number one, we're going to shoot a few specks on it just to kind of make it look like it's got like maybe some black dots and specks and things like that, as well as we're going to lightly shade the whole thing, and then we're going to come back and distress it. And so let's go ahead and get this process started so that way you can kind of see what all we're going to be doing and in what order. So what we first want to do is we want to get the gun set up to where it's going to splatter or spray. So if you notice right now, we have pretty much a really thin dot. We have very few little spray patterns in that. We want really big dots. And so what we're going to do is we're going to crank the air pressure down to where it's just very light, and then now you can see the difference of the spray that we're getting compared to right here. It's not atomizing as well, it's more shooting dots, and that's what we want to focus on. Now if we go even lower with the air, we notice that we get bigger dots, and so we want to be somewhere in this neighborhood right here as far as dot size. So let's move over here and we'll take this right here, and we're mainly just going to just splatter different areas all the way around. Now again, there's not a specific technique to this. You can even go lower if you want and get a few bigger dots. You can go higher to get a few little more dots, but the general idea is to get a lot of just the dots and specks. Now again, you can go more high level if you wanted to add in some brown dots and some black dots and things like that, but for the sake of the video, we're just going to do the black dots for right now. Now that we have the specks, now we're going to come back and start doing some light shading. And so we're going to come back over here again. We're going to turn our air pressure up a little bit more, but we're also going to crank our fan adjustment down to where we have just a little bitty fan. all right? And so what we're gonna try to do is get it to where we have something like that. So now if you'll look right here, we have more of a dot, if you will, okay? And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in and we're gonna highlight the areas that should be darker. So again, remember how I was saying, if we took and we drug this through the ground, the top portions would be all scuffed up, but these lower lying areas right in here and right in here and here and here would all be darker colors. So we're gonna come in and we're gonna just highlight that. Now we're not gonna fully cover it completely black, but we're just going to darken those in just a little bit more. And so taking like that, maybe something like that, and then highlighting more right there, and maybe even more right there. So that's gonna be a good start to what we're gonna need. Now, we're gonna come back over here again, and we're gonna open our fan up even more. So now we're gonna go back to a normal spray, maybe a wide open fan, and back to a normal spray pattern, like that right there. So now we're back to what we started with. So now, as we're spraying it, we're just gonna wanna do just some nice light coats. Now again, we're not turning it fully black, but we just want some nice lighter coats on this, so then that way everything will turn to a darker color. Now it's okay if it almost goes away, because we're gonna come back and we're gonna distress it off. But the biggest thing is that we wanna take and we just wanna do just lighter coats all the way around, just like that. So now you'll notice that it's almost black right in these areas right here. That's okay. We're a little bit lighter in here. That's okay as well. Almost black right in there. So now what we're gonna do is after we've got this sprayed like that, we're gonna let it sit, we're gonna let it flash off and fully dry. So we'll come back in about 15 to 30 minutes after it's fully dried, and then now we can start the distressing process. All right, so now that we've got this already set and ready to go, now we're ready to start distressing. Now, depending on the level of distressing will depend on the type of material that you may use. So I've got a couple of different materials here. I've got a gray Scotch-Brite, I've got some 320 grit sandpaper, and then I've also got a red Scotch-Brite. Now, as you are probably familiar, red's gonna be a little bit more aggressive, gray is gonna be a little bit less aggressive, but of course the sandpaper is normally going to be more aggressive than all of that, especially at a 320. Now, you can even go down to 180, 220, you can go all the way up to 400 and 800 if you want. But we just want to kind of show the differences in what you're going to get with sandpaper versus even the Scotch-Brite pads and things like that. So we'll start off with the sandpaper alone. Now the sandpaper is going to give us a lot of deep gouges and scratches, and so I am just barely touching that right there, and you can already see that we're getting a lot of deep scratches, a lot of gouges. So you got to be very, very careful with using a little higher grit. Now this does give a lot more deeper scratches and things like that, but if that's not what you're looking for, then the sandpaper may not be the best alternative to use. So as we move along, normally what we like to use is more of a red or a maroon Scotch-Brite. So we'll kind of move on to this other side over here, and as you can tell, it kind of just almost just lightly takes that off. Now, a couple of things to remember. We're not trying to get in these little recessed areas and those recessed areas. We're just trying to do more of a high level scuff like this right here. Because if this was, of course, drugged through the dirt, things like that, that's the way that it's going to look. So we're just mainly just kind of going back and forth across this right here. And so we may get a little bit down in here, but we're not going to get a lot. Now, on a scuff like this, because I did put a little bit more black on this right here, I can go ahead and have a little bit more pressure to kind of take off a little bit more of this. Now, again, you're still getting a little bit of a sand scratch, a little bit of a scuff, if you will, but nowhere near what we had down here. So if you're wanting more of just like a light distressing, then definitely the Scotch-Brite pad is a very good option. Now, other thing too is we can see the direction of the grain. So let's maybe say that I wanted some this way and I wanted some this way. So maybe on this right here, I'm just going to kind of put a couple of different ones. Now again, I'm putting a medium pressure on this, but I'm still not, of course, taking out a lot of that. Now, if I wanted to, I can maybe come in and do a little bit of that right there, and then maybe even come back in with this right here. And so as we're going through here, we can clearly see how this is starting to come out. Now, again, we can come back in and hit this just a little bit where we kind of made it black down in here, just to get a little bit of the sand scratches, if you will. And that way, that'll kind of help get that more of a better, unique type of shading and all of that, and to give it more of an actual distressed look. So that's going to be what a red Scotch-Brite is. Now, of course, the gray Scotch-Brite is going to be even less than that, so we'll start over here, and you'll probably notice that you're not really going to get a lot of sand scratches off of it. It's mainly just going to almost like take the black off of there, but you're not really going to see a lot of the scratches themselves. And so you can tell that it definitely takes a lot longer to get the black off of there, but we have little to no sand scratches compared to what you can clearly see with this right here. So depending on the technique that you want to give the look, the overall look of the part, will depend highly on the method that you're going to be using. So in this case, if we wanted just a lighter distressing, but we didn't want to see a lot of sand scratches, this may be the route to go, because this gray Scotch-Brite is definitely going to take a lot longer to take off some of this black right here, but we're not getting any of those sand scratches. And also we can even come back in with this right here and do combinations of the two, so then that way we have some sand scratches, and then it also helps blend in some of those areas. And so you can do a lot of different things all the way around, just depending on which type of method that you want to go with. So as you can clearly see, using the different techniques that I've shown here, you can get a lot of different, very unique distressing options depending on what you or the customer wants, whether you want maybe a light antique or you want a heavy distress with a lot of sand scratches or just a lot of scratches in general. You can pretty much go through all of that just depending on which method that you use. So hopefully this video has really helped you guys out. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below. We'd always love to hear from you, as well as let me know your thoughts on the distressing, as well as if you see any other ways that you have done on the distressing. We'd always love to hear about that as well. Always looking for new ideas, and with your comments and things like that, that always helps us to grow the whole community. If you haven't already, definitely hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you subscribe to our weekly tips and tricks on anything hydrographics and paint related. If you're curious about any of the products that we've used in the video, we're gonna have links in the description below, so definitely check that out, as well as check out the website as well. The website has everything that you need for the hydrographics, whether it be film, training, activator, any of these products like that. They're all there on the website, so definitely make sure you check that out. I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and this is how we customize your world. We'll see you guys next time.